You are listening to the Pulse of the Eastern Townships on CJMQ 88.9 FM, produced through the Local Journalism Initiative. I'm William Crooks. Today's program brings together three recent stories that speak to leadership, heritage, and remembrance in our communities. We begin in Lac-Brome, where Lee Patterson was elected mayor earlier this month. Patterson emphasized continuity, saying council's work will continue without disruption. He told me he intends to focus on infrastructure planning, the management of ongoing municipal projects, and clear communication with residents. His message was straightforward. The door is open, information will be shared directly, and the goal is to keep the municipality moving forward responsibly. From there, we head to Stanstead, where Mayor Jody Stone confirmed that the historic Wilder Pierce store, the first customs house in this region, has now been demolished. The building's structural condition and associated safety concerns left the town with no viable option to preserve it. Stone said the decision was difficult, but the building had deteriorated beyond repair. And finally, we turn to Barrie, where residents gathered for their annual Remembrance Day ceremony at the cenotaph. Wreaths were laid, the names of the fallen were read aloud, and the community stood together in silence. Each of these stories reflects a different form of responsibility, to stewardship, to history, and to memory. Together they show that the strength of a community is not found in large gestures, but in people who show up and stay engaged. You're listening to the Pulse of the Eastern Townships on CJMQ 88.9 FM. This segment is funded by the Local Journalism Initiative. I'm William Crooks. On November 2nd, residents of Brome Lake elected a new mayor, longtime councillor and lifelong resident Lee Patterson. He has served on council for 12 years and has been involved in several key municipal files, including lake protection, infrastructure planning, and public safety. He won in a multi-candidate race with voter turnout just over 53%, which was one of the higher levels of participation across the region during this municipal election cycle. Patterson campaigned on continuity. He says he wants to maintain momentum on the town's strategic plan, continue investing in core infrastructure and water quality, and tighten development and land use rules as Brome Lake updates its urban plan. He also wants clearer communication with residents, including digital notifications when projects affect specific neighborhoods. I spoke with him over the phone less than 72 hours after the election. We discussed what the results mean for Brome Lake and what residents can expect from their new mayor.
Well, it's still very exciting. The results came quite late after midnight on Sunday night to confirm that I was elected mayor. And I had a good feeling throughout the campaign, but to finally have it confirmed and now to get started on all the projects we have to get going, the time for celebration is past, and now it's time to get to work.
What was your secret to success, Lee?
I was told by many that those that were undecided through the campaign got to know me a little more via various videos that I posted online, as well as some of the public events that I held where people appreciated the fact that I had the knowledge of many dossiers. For example, the water, the quantity of water that we have available in Brome Lake that will meet the needs of the developments that we have on file, the importance of the environment, the quality of the lake water, those types of things I was able to show the residents of town of Brome Lake. Because I've been councillor for the past 12 years, I'm up to speed on those dossiers, and the strategic plan, the urban plan that we have to redo, that was the crux of my message, and it seems to have resonated with the electors.
What was your election strategy?
Yes, for sure. So I too went door to door, but I also did something that some other councillors before me had mentioned was a great way to meet people, was to have little small gatherings in different neighborhoods. So, for example, someone would allow me to come at their little personal Sanka set that they were having with friends, and and chat with their neighbors, and I got a lot of positive feedback there. And it wasn't always necessarily people from that neighborhood, like people from another district happened to be there, and they would expose to me some issues that they had in their neighborhood, for example, on dirt roads, issues with certain issues. So I was able to meet a lot of people. I shook a lot of hands. And also, because I've been councillor of the Knowlton Victoria district for 12 years, yes, I did know the other districts, and I've lived here all my life, but to meet certain residents of those other districts and to learn more about their preoccupations and challenges was great for me as the new mayor.
How will you distinguish yourself from or be the same as previous Mayor Richard Burcombe?
So Mayor Burcombe, for 12 years we've collaborated together, and I was fortunate enough to get his endorsement. He publicly endorsed me a few days before the elections, and for sure that legacy of being available, the strategic plan that we worked on together, those are things that are going to stay. However, I believe that we can change up slightly how we interact with the residents. I plan on, because I'm a fan of technology, I plan on publishing maybe a few more videos than he did in that sense. Less maybe polished, more just off the cuff stuff. And also, I would like the City Hall to integrate some technology, a little more technology. For example, when there's a derogation or something, I'd like it that via the citizens portal, people that are in that district could get a notification and so on. So it's small steps. Obviously, I will bring my little personal touch to it. But don't forget, we also have new councillors that will want to bring their flavor and what they've learned throughout the campaign by talking with residents. So I think that there will always be portions of the Burcombe administration that remain, but we will trace a new path and evolve as any good administration should.
What are some of the major challenges Brome Lake faces?
So, as I mentioned, the good news is we have some councillors that have, like Robert Laflamme is coming back. He's been a councillor before, Pierre Laflamme, Patrick Boubrard. So 3 out of the 6 councillors have municipal experience. So for them, big things like the budget and so on will be fairly easy. The law allows us to adopt the budget during an election year in January, which is probably what we're going to do here in town of Brome Lake, to give the new elected officials time to be briefed on the dossiers. But for sure, the standards we're in the continuation of investing in protecting the lake, our water, sewer infrastructure, dirt roads, our community centers. I've mentioned it through the campaign. Some of them need some love. Those are things that I would like this new council to go forward. And then after that, we've already started tweaking our urban plan. Well, there'll be consultations and presentations. I'm sure there's going to be one in November and some in the new year as well to update our urban plan that is in long overdue for an update.
Do you have any updates on the new fire hall and the tree topping controversy on Brome Lake?
So the dossier of the tree cutting is going through the regular steps of the legal process. I don't have any news on that so far. And for the fire hall, just before the launch of the campaign, we did receive written confirmation from the Quebec government that for 2027 we did have our grant approved for the construction. We're also working on finalizing the land acquisition in the Duck Farm sector around Center Road and Victoria Street. So that dossier is moving forward as well, and we hope to have good news either before the end of this year or the beginning of the new year to secure that piece of land. But it's looking good so that the construction can start in 2027. It's great to be back at Town Hall, and the campaign allowed me to meet a lot of people, but I'm looking forward to getting to work.
You're listening to the Pulse of the Eastern Townships on CJMQ 88.9 FM. This segment is funded by the Local Journalism Initiative. I'm William Crooks. That was Lee Patterson, the new mayor of Brome Lake. In our conversation, he emphasized 3 themes for the coming council term. The first is continuity, keeping the strategic plan on track, protecting the lake, and moving ahead with long-planned infrastructure projects, including the fire hall and community facility upgrades. The second is modernization. He wants City Hall to communicate more efficiently with residents, using digital tools to notify people of zoning changes and planning files that affect their neighborhoods. The third is accountability. With several new councillors and a tight schedule, Patterson says the first major task will be preparing the municipal budget early in the new year. It marks a shift for Brome Lake. After more than a decade on council, Patterson now takes on the mayor's role with an emphasis on experience, stability, and better communication with residents. Thank you for listening. Stay tuned to CJMQ 88.9 FM for more local reporting and interviews on the pulse of the Eastern Townships. You're listening to the pulse of the Eastern Townships on CJMQ 88.9 FM. I'm William Crooks, Local Journalism Initiative reporter. On November 4th, 2025, I spoke with Stanstead Mayor Jody Stone about a major heritage loss in the Eastern Townships, the demolition of the Wilder Pierce building. Built between 1810 and 1814, it served as the first customs house in this part of Quebec and later housed the original Eastern Townships Bank. The building was cited heritage property, yet it was demolished after years of legal battles, failed restoration attempts, and safety concerns. How did a protected 200-year-old landmark end up reduced to rubble? And what tools do towns have when heritage is privately owned and left to deteriorate? Here's my interview with Mayor Jody Stone. What process was followed to take this heritage building down?
Yeah, well, so the issue is that this building has been in a decrepit state for many, many years. So in 2005, the town council had from the owner at the time had give the owner a permit for demolition back 20 years ago. So someone came in last minute before the demolition of that building was to happen and came to the town and said, look, I would like to protect the building, and I'd like to, and then the town gave conditions that it would bring it back up, like, you know what I mean, like renovate it to the point where it's no longer a danger. So that was given, but the work was never done. Okay, 2008, the owner came back to the town and said, look, if the town was to site the building, I would be able to go and get grants. So the town said okay, because the town's tried to, with this process, save the building. If it was able to keep the building in place, there's no reason for the town to want to get rid of the building, okay, other than for public security. 2009, the building was cited. And then it was a whole bunch of things after that where he still didn't do any repairs. So the town had inspectors go in and inspect the building, get a report. We even had to go to court to force him to do repairs, or did. Another report was requested to see how much further degraded the building was. So you see, it's been a continuous thing. Communications between the owner and the previous councils have never been great. Even it was to the point where it took us 6 months to find him to be able to hand him some documentation. And then a couple of years ago, it was all of the media again that the town had requested the demolition. It was to go to court. So there's been several years since it's been officially announced again. Very few people came to us about protecting or trying to take it over. We did have a few groups that came. We showed them the reports, because if there was somebody that had the money to invest, but everybody agreed that it was kind of too far gone. I mean, the brick, you could see through the bricks, and the inside of the building was pretty much gutted, so all of the old wood that had any value The owner kind of took all that out. So it was really being held up just by the brick itself. There was no walls inside. It was really just brick wall. So the building was really at the end of life. And then the Superior Court, at the beginning of this year, gave him until, I think the official date was 15th of November to demolish the building.
Who still owns the property?
Yeah, he owns the property, but I don't know what he's planning on doing with the property. The only thing I know is that the request from the court was total demolition, so completely taking the building off, including foundation, so that the property would be usable after. So depending on what he does, because there's no where the town isn't forcing him to do anything in that property. It's just rather to make sure that it was safe.
Where's the building located in Stanstead?
Yeah, well, you know where the Maples building was? They had a fire and several residents were that an apartment. Well, it's actually the building right next to that one. So basically now there's going to be two big empty lots there.
How are those lots zoned?
Well, Dufferin is all commercial residential.
Anything you'd like to add?
Well, I just want to reiterate that the town is not looking to demolish historical buildings. That is not in our mission. We don't want to see that. We have been working on passing bylaws to allow us to have some extra powers to be able to force property owners to maintain their buildings, something that the town or towns across Quebec didn't have for powers. So as long as the area was secure, the town kind of had to accept what was there. So now we're giving ourselves the powers that the provincial government finally are allowing us to have, so that we can force property owners to maintain their buildings. And that means minimum level of maintenance, right? That the roof needs to not leak. There needs to be no holes going in the inside, certain temperature to keep the building inside at a certain temperature. Like there's conditions that property owners in a vacant building will have to follow. Of course, we're going to have to look at how we're going to deal with the current vacant buildings, but at least we have some extra pull to be able to get something happening, like so that we can get these buildings usable again.
You've been listening to the Pulse of the Eastern Townships on CJMQ 88.9 FM. I'm William Crooks, Local Journalism Initiative reporter. That interview with Stanstead Mayor Jody Stone was recorded on November 4th, 2025. As he explained, the Wilder Pierce building had technically been under a demolition order as far back as 2005. In 2009, the town cited the building as heritage so the owner could apply for grants, but no repairs were ever made. Over time, inspections, structural reports, and even court motions showed that the interior had been stripped, the wood removed, and only unstable brick walls remained. Earlier this year, the Superior Court ordered a full demolition for safety reasons. Mayor Stone says the town is now preparing new bylaws requiring minimum maintenance standards for vacant and heritage buildings in hopes of preventing future losses. This program is funded through the Local Journalism Initiative. This is William Crooks with the Pulse of the Eastern Townships on CJMQ 88.9 FM, reporting through the Local Journalism Initiative. On Saturday, November 8th, the community of Barrie gathered inside the Armory for its annual Remembrance Day ceremony. The event was organized by the Barrie branch of the Royal Canadian Legion. Veterans, families, and residents took part. Presiding over the ceremony was Richard Gray, chairman of the Barrie Legion. Gray opened the service, welcoming those attending, and spoke about how funds collected through the Poppy campaign directly support veterans. Here's his opening address.
Again, welcome everybody to the 2025 Remembrance Day service in Barrie. Bienvenue à tout le monde pour la journée de souvenir 2025 à Barrie. Beautiful day outside. We had a lovely service this morning in Scottstown. as Scotstown weather goes, it was A1. We will begin the service for everybody to stand for O Canada.
After the anthem, Gray continued.
First, I just want to make a little update statement for everyone. Just in regards to our Poppy Fund drive that we do annually. For those of you who support our Poppy drive by the donations you give us for laying wreaths for your family or for your organization. And I wanted to let you know, I think I did this a few years ago, but also we still support about 85% of our Poppy profits that we make after expenses, obviously, goes to an organization that has been close to us for almost a decade now, if not a decade, and it's the Over Mission in Montreal. And our donations to them and the research we've done and the dialogue back and forth with them through correspondence, the programs that they have, not just for the homeless, but for the homeless veteran, the programs that they do don't just supply food and shelter, but they also supply housing, job training programs, and everything that can be done, hopefully, for veterans who are homeless in our situation. That, for us, is one of the worst situations any person could be in, but for us, any veteran could be in, is to be a homeless veteran. And these programs, so continue if you believe in our programs, continue to support us in this, because that's where the big bulk of our money is going, is for homeless veteran programs in our province. So thank you very much.
After Gray's remarks, the ceremony continued with a prayer, followed by the musical portion of the program. Later in the ceremony, a second musical selection was played, a trumpet composition written by a Second World War veteran and dedicated to those who served. The reading of names followed. More than 250 names of local residents who served in wartime and have since passed away were read aloud. No additional commentary was given, only the names and a moment of silence. This was followed by a reading of In Flanders Fields by a young local schoolboy.
In Flanders Fields, the poppies bloom, between the crosses, row and row, that marks our place in the sky. The larks still bravely sing, fly. The larks still bravely scarce heard amid the guns below. We are the dead, short days ago. We lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow. We loved and were loved. We now lie in Flanders Fields. Take up our quarrel with the foe. To you from failing hands we throw. The torch be yours to hold it high. If ye break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep till poppies grow in Flanders Fields.
Participants were invited to go outside to watch the wreath laying at the cenotaph. Wreaths were placed on behalf of individuals, families, community organizations, and the municipality. The ceremony then returned indoors for closing remarks.
As we gather to remember all the soldiers who fell in combat, those who came back with physical and emotional scars, and those who serve today. And what can we say for the families and friends they left behind? The word sacrifice is the most appropriate word to describe what a soldier does. Someone who is willing and ready to voluntarily give up their own freedom and liberty in order to assure the freedom of others, our freedom. The best way to honor our soldiers is never to forget their personal sacrifice. The Gospel of John is written, there's no greater love than to give one's life for his friends. And the Christian faith is based on the ultimate sacrifice of our Lord Jesus Christ, who gave himself for each one of us on the cross. In John 14:27, Jesus said this, "Peace I leave with you, my peace I give to you. Not as the world gives, I give to you. Let not your heart be troubled, neither let it be afraid." Because we desire to be peacemakers, and because any peace between us isn't possible with the peace of the Lord. And to receive the peace of God is also to make peace with God.
The ceremony concluded with a reminder that remembrance carries responsibility, to honor those who served by not forgetting the costs of the freedoms we live with today. From the Remembrance Day ceremony in Barrie, this is William Crooks, reporting for the Pulse of the Eastern Townships on CJMQ 88.9 FM through the Local Journalism Initiative. You're listening to the Pulse of the Eastern Townships on CJMQ 88.9 FM, produced through the Local Journalism Initiative. As we close today's program, the connective thread between these stories becomes clear. In Lac-Brome, Lee Patterson emphasized transparency and accountability. That leadership means listening, communicating, and involving residents as the municipality advances its priorities. In Stanstead, Mayor Jody Stone faced the reality that preserving public safety sometimes requires letting go of history. The Wilder Pierce store was not just an old building, it was the region's first customs house. Its demolition underscores how difficult municipal decisions can be when heritage and safety collide. And in Barrie, the Remembrance Day ceremony demonstrated that remembrance is an act of responsibility. Wreaths were placed, names were spoken aloud, and the community stood together, not out of habit, but out of commitment. Leadership, heritage, remembrance. 3 stories, 1 region, 1 shared idea. Community is built by people who take responsibility for today, for yesterday, and for what comes next. The music for today's broadcast was brought to you by Johann Sebastian Bach. For the Pulse of the Eastern Townships on CJMQ 88.9 FM, I'm William Crooks. Keep your finger on the pulse.